Hi, and welcome to Tim's Old School Perspectives. Today we're going to be talking about the aftermath of the election, about Trump's challenges in the courts, and where we stand on the evidence of wrongdoing. I think it's pretty clear that there has been some wrongdoing in this election. Even the mainstream media is starting to crack a little bit on there was absolutely no fraud whatsoever narrative. If you take a look at this map, you can see that if we look at everything that's well established, that Biden has 233 electoral votes to Trump's 232. And we sort of have 5 states flapping in the wind on the map here. So let's talk about them one by one, and the very latest that we have in challenges. In Pennsylvania, President Trump's operative Hogan Gidley, who's working on legal cases, is claiming that there's many as 2.6 million votes that could be thrown out, most of them for having signature issues that violate Pennsylvania election law. That's a lot of votes to be thrown out, but there's also 682,000 that were counted without any kind of Republican oversight, that were just counted in the dark of night, and so they are definitely in question because they were illegally counted, and so they're probably going to be taking a look at these also. Now that's a lot of votes. President Trump has to overcome about a 45,000 vote deficit. Obviously, either one of these things would very easily overcome that. There's also been an issue of the privacy envelopes. There's supposed to be 2 envelopes around each ballot. This wasn't the case. Democrats were careful to correct their own problems beforehand, but did not give the Republicans opportunity to do so, which is in violation of the Equal Protection Law. And so there's so many problems in Pennsylvania that the courts are going to have to take a look at. Dick Morris claims that 600,000 people voted late, past the 8 o'clock cutoff that was mandated by the Supreme Court. These votes should have been set aside, but they were not. These votes were counted. And if it wasn't bad enough, Pennsylvania state legislature, which is mostly Republican, they alone set the time of the election and when cutoffs are going to be and things like that. So the courts have overstepped here, or the Pennsylvania Supreme Court did. And so there's going to be a legislative audit of this election in Pennsylvania. This audit's going to reveal so many problems that it's hard to imagine that this election could stand in Pennsylvania, and I think this very well could end up going to Trump. This, of all the states, I think is the most likely to go back to Trump. This, of course, brings him to 252 electoral votes. Let's take a look at Georgia. Well, in Georgia, Biden has a lead of between 10 and 15,000. Not a very big lead at all. And it turns out there's going to be a full audit. The Secretary of State has announced a full audit, not just a simple recount of already fraudulently counted votes. And so, once these are done, Dick Morris claims there's 27,000 people over 90 years old that voted in Georgia, which is statistically improbable to say the least. And a few thousand of these were over 100 years old, and another 1,000 or so were over 105 years old. I think we're going to find out that at least 20,000 dead people voted in Georgia, and as most people know, dead people have a tendency to vote overwhelmingly Democrat. This state is so close and the margin so thin that this is probably the second most likely state that could turn. And it looks like if it turns, obviously it will turn to Donald Trump. Yeah, that's the wrong Donald Trump. And suddenly Donald Trump's within 2 electoral votes of winning the election. So we've got Wisconsin, we got Michigan, and we got Arizona. Well, let's first take a look at Wisconsin. The biggest problems with Wisconsin is that they have an extremely high amount of people that have voted in comparison with the amount of people that they actually have in the state. And so it looks like it's possible that there was a lot of ballot stuffing going on, especially those middle of the night shipments of votes that came in from down around Milwaukee. 6 counties had extremely high turnouts in the 10% range, higher than the already high count in the rest of the state. Wisconsin is seriously in doubt if they have an honest recount, and if they really take a hard look at these votes. I do believe that Wisconsin has a pretty good chance also of turning in President Trump's direction. Now, As you can see, that would be all that you would need. But let's say not all of those things happen. Let's say that Wisconsin doesn't come through. All right, so let's take a look at Arizona. And what we have here is it says 98% of the expected vote is in, and 3,300,000 votes have been cast. Okay, so given these numbers, that would say if 2% of the vote is out, that means 66,000 votes would be out. Now, Biden currently enjoys a lead of just over 12,000 votes, meaning that it is certainly possible, if President Trump were to pick up 60% of the remaining vote, that he would still overtake Joe Biden. But I found something else interesting when looking at this map. If you go to the map, it'll tell you county by county how much of the vote is actually in. Well, in this county, 95%, and then you scroll over that county, and it looks like it's 95% in, 95% in, 95% in, 95% in, 95% in. So you get the idea that 95% is in all over Arizona, because I went and looked at the map, and that is the case. So is it 95 or is it 98? Well, let's say, just for the sake of argument, that it really is 95% of the vote is in Arizona. Now you've got about 165,000 votes that are still out, and all of a sudden this 12,000 vote lead looks very precarious. So I don't know if there's anything to this, or if it's just me hopefully thinking about Arizona, but I do notice there's a few outlets that have not called Arizona, and I think they may be looking at the same thing that I'm looking at, that is it 95% or 98%. And either way, mathematical possibilities do still exist that President Trump would win this state, and that's saying that there has been no corruption or anything like that. And so I find that to be interesting about Arizona. Alright, so there's court challenges also in Michigan. And in Michigan, we have a situation in Wayne County where there's more than 100 affidavits that have been filed to the courts alleging voter fraud. Michigan is replete with all of the same problems that Pennsylvania has, as far as huge lead on Donald Trump's part was overcome by middle of the night ballot dumping, mostly in Wayne County, Detroit. So there's just so many poll workers that have claimed that there's fraud in Michigan that it is questionable to whether Michigan will hold up. But I really think Michigan probably will, be on the strength of Biden having a pretty big lead there. His lead there is over 100,000 votes. They'd have to throw out an awful lot of Michigan's votes. So I'm going to say that it's leaning Biden's way right now, but the court challenges are mounting there. And it certainly is possible that that state could just maybe not even be counted. And if it was, there starts being possibilities of nobody reaching 270 electoral votes, in which case the election goes to the House of Representatives, where although there's more people in the House for Democrats, the way the law works, the Republicans would win because they have too many more of the state houses than do the Democrats. All right, so that's what I have for you. That's the latest and greatest on the election. It does look like Arizona still could possibly go President Trump's way. It doesn't seem real likely, but it could. The sauce is strong enough right now to make this work out for President Trump. So that's what I've got for you today. That's the latest and greatest on the election. So you guys have a great day, and peace out.